Hello and welcome back to the Plus EV betting channel. And first of all, a very happy new year to all of you. So I said I would be back with the weekend fixtures, of course totally forgetting about the FA Cup, which takes center stage this weekend. So there's really only one game to discuss, and we can focus on the review of the previous bets. So let's start with the results here. I advised a total of 38 bets, and as you can see, we turned a small profit from these. By the way, this is all calculated or based on level stakes, so one bet equals 1 unit. I think it keeps it simple for the purposes of these videos here. You can use your own staking system, and it makes sense if you're really sure in your prices to stake accordingly. But for these videos, I'm going to stick to level stakes. So 2.03 units profit. And here you can see the profit as a percentage. If 5% is what you're winning long term, then you're doing really well, considering 95% of the population lose at gambling. I think it's even more than 95%. I aim for a little bit more, but these numbers are fairly meaningless after such a small sample. I will be updating these after every round, and then we can see how these figures develop as the season progresses. So let's take a closer look at the games, or rather the bets we placed, starting with the Premier League. And again, I've listed all the bets. I think it's 9 bets. We have the type of bet: home, away, over, under, the line, the handicap, the odds, the true price, and this is the actual result. So Brighton, Chelsea finished 1-1. And this is the result of the bet. We were on Brighton with a handicap start, so they won the bet. We won the bet because Brighton didn't lose. And this is interesting here. This is what I call the fair goals. Sort of the XG. We talked about it last video. I don't like the term XG because it implies an expectation, a pre-game expectation, whereas this is based on the actual game. So based on what happened on the game, I calculate these numbers. Why do I do this? Well, first of all, I use these numbers going forward to evaluate the strengths of the teams, because I want to make my calculations as accurate as possible. But they also serve as a tool to evaluate the quality of my bets. So looking at the Brighton game here, it finished as a draw, 1-1, and looking at the fair goals, a draw looks just about the right result, 1.57 to 1.6. It probably wouldn't have been deserved for either team to lose or to win. So that's a fair result. On the other hand, we also staked the under, 2.75 goals. And looking at these, if we add them up, we basically get 3.2 goals. So that would suggest we got slightly lucky with the under bet. And this is important. You have to sort of detach yourself from the individual results a little bit. Of course, if you have a large enough sample, then yeah, the results tell you the story of what happened. But for single games, I mean, anything could happen in a single game. We will see that in the championship in a moment. And you also have to be honest with yourself. I mean, here, okay, we won the bet, but I should be honest enough to say, okay, got a little bit lucky here. And on the other hand, looking at the Southampton game, we were on the over. There was only one goal. We lost the bet. But looking at these figures, it seems there should have been a couple of more goals. Of course, when you do that, people will say, "Oh, you're just making excuses." And when you lose, you're unlucky. When you win, it was deserved. But I think I've been doing this long enough to be able to be honest with myself. And yeah, I watched the game actually. I think there should have been more goals. Southampton should have had a clear penalty, but I'm not getting, which is not represented in these figures here, by the way. But I'm not getting into the VAR discussion. I don't find it very interesting either. Bournemouth, they just didn't turn up. That was well deserved, and that was a bad bet. I mean, that's all we have to say. Sheffield, I was a little bit disappointed. They didn't really do much in the game, and 2-0 looks just about right for Liverpool. The under was saved though. So I just mentioned the championship, and of course after bigging up Leeds they failed to deliver. Looking at the numbers here, they just about deserve to win probably, but I still expected more from them. I think the over was spot on though. Yeah, QPR versus Cardiff, this is what I was alluding to earlier. 6-1, we were in Cardiff, so we couldn't have lost any more spectacularly. But again, looking at the figures, it seemed like an even match in the case of QPR taking their chances, and these things happen. I mean, it's hard to accept sometimes, but, 6-1. But with a result like this, I mean, in any league, and certainly in the Championship, which is very even, this is just never a fair reflection of the team's strengths. And what you shouldn't do is conclude, oh, this must have been a very terrible bet and QPR are miles better than Cardiff. I assure you they're not. Even if you took the best team in the league, which is Leeds, at home to the worst team in the league, the expected goal difference is about 2 maybe even 1.5 or 1.75. So 6-1 is just a freak occurrence, but these things happen. Anything can happen in an individual game. I don't know how the game went specifically, but I'm much more interested in the last two columns here and judge my bets based on them. So in overall, even though we turned loss here, I'm fairly happy. Millwall, this looks the right result. Birmingham, Wigan over, well, just about maybe. Bristol, that looks fair, they should have lost, so this was a bad bet. Reading, here we got really lucky. And let's pick a game where we were unlucky maybe. Preston, well deserved to win the game, but they lost 2-0, so again, these things happen and they even out over the course of the season, or not the season, but over a large set of bets. So I wouldn't read too much into that just now. Same in League One. Accrington was stunned by bottom side Rochdale at home, but again, looks like they should have won, and the bets were good. -1, they covered that. Over 3, they covered that as well. So this is what I mean, and this is something you should always do, regardless of what you're betting. Try to find a way, an algorithm, a calculation to evaluate the quality of your bets. And I don't mean look at the results. These, because the results are influenced by all sorts of things. We just mentioned the VAR, bad referees, an injury, a red card. Football is a low-scoring game, and goals are rare events, which is why we cannot really use them to judge. I mean, you can use them if you have a large enough sample, but we cannot use them to judge a single game, really. If we look at Bolton versus Burton, 3-4, I remember Bolton being 2-0 up after like 10 minutes. So, and Bolton are the worst side in the league, so these things happen. In the end, Burton deserved to win, but there were 7 goals in the match, even though these numbers indicate there should have been like 3. So, again, over the course of the season, these numbers, the totals of these numbers and the totals of these numbers, they will be equal, or almost equal, and this is good enough for me to tell me that I'm on the right track here. So this is the review. As I said, we have one game at the weekend, which is going to be in this league, in League One, and it is Sunderland at home to Lincoln. Again, I have my own goal expectations here, the total and the over 2.5 and under 2.5, fair odds. And based on that, I have one bet that I can recommend, which is going to be on under 2.25. You can see this is the market price, and this is my own price that I calculated. So good luck if you follow the bet, and I'll see you on Monday.